that loud and clear.
So why did I start this episode off with some seemingly pointless drone footage of a shopping center that's 4 minutes down the road from me and where I do my grocery shopping? Maybe I've run out of stuff to show you, or maybe I've got something really cool that I want to share with you. So let's have a chat, go over some news and look at some mail in this episode of #Philately. Okay, so let's get started with some news. Recently, I co-hosted the Chatty Awards with Heidi from the APS. The Chatty Awards were a celebration, really, of all the stamp chats that have taken place over the last year while we've been in COVID. There were about 5 different nominees for each category, and the winners were chosen through votes. Votes cast by you, or anybody, APS and non-APS members. Anyone that went ahead and watched stamp chats could go ahead and vote for their favorite stamp chats over the 7 categories. Big congratulations to all the winners. And I mentioned this in my opening speech for the ceremonies, is that everybody was a winner. It doesn't matter if you won or not won, if you were nominated or were not nominated. Anybody who participated with these stamp chats is a winner, because there are now 90 plus videos hosted by the APS online that are accessible to myself as well as all of you. Anyone worldwide who wants to learn more about philately and stamp collecting has the opportunity to do that. So you can go onto the APS YouTube channel and see over 90 different presentations from stamp collectors and philatelists out there, which is incredible. But check out the ceremony, see who won. The video of the ceremony is posted on the APS's YouTube channel, so you can check it out at your leisure. And go ahead, like I said, check out all those stamp chats. There's a lot of interesting content out there, so enjoy. Also in the news, the PTS have opened up registration for the March Stampex from the 25th to the 27th of March. This Stampex is again virtual. It'll be the second virtual Stampex. And I've spoken to the organizers of the virtual Stampex, and from what I've learned from them is that while the first one was really great, there were several lessons learned that they want to go ahead and act on. Several things that they want to improve on. So the social element was a big hit in the virtual Stampex. They want to make it even bigger, and they're creating a social lounge where we can all connect with one another and have that virtual cup of coffee. So I'm excited about that. Also, the talks, while they were a big hit, they saw a strong interest for talks centered around the collector. People like myself wanting to learn more about how to collect particular topics, particular types of stamps, learning more about the stamps. So they're going to center the talks a little more around you and me. My ask to you is go ahead and click on that registration button now so that you're starting to get excited for the virtual Stampex that's coming up in March. I don't know how I'm going to be attending this year. I'm definitely going to be walking the floor and doing more exploration of the event, but I don't think I'm going to be doing a booth by myself. If anything, I will be sharing a booth, but I'll find out more and let you know through Twitter and Instagram. Something else that I would like to talk about with all of you are the recent blogs and vlogs that have been showing up online. Some really great content that I've been enjoying. One of which is Richard Philatelist, that has just started but has created some great content so far. Richard Philatelist's first video that caught my attention was about extreme philately. #extreme philately is just something I started to tag my Instagram posts and some of my Twitter posts with, where I took a stamp in real life. And that could have been taking a photograph with it, a windmill stamp in the Netherlands with a windmill in the background, or the donkey in Aruba, or any of the several things that I've done where I've taken a stamp and photographed it in the real world with something that is related or applicable to the stamp. If you go onto Instagram and search for #extreme philately, you'll see a number of other individuals that have taken fantastic photographs displaying stamps in real life. I'm not sure if the #extreme philately has made it over into the Facebook world. I've done a bit of it on Twitter, but not too much. It's mainly on Instagram. Maybe I should post more on Twitter, but Richard Philatelist's video is about him going ahead and trying to get an extreme philately photo during the COVID lockdown in London. It was a lot of fun, and I started to really enjoy his other videos he posted, including one that taught me a bit about the different languages in Norway that you'll see on their stamps. Richard Philatelist actually sent me an item in the mail, which we can talk about when we get to the mail section of the video. But yeah, definitely subscribe to Richard's channel, as well as two other channels that I'm going to put the links to in the description of this video. That's Bob Collects Stamps and Mallard Stamps, all great channels to check out. And the last thing I'll talk about is research. I've been getting a lot of questions from you about how I produce these videos, as well as how do I go about researching. And it's a timely question to answer now because the APS, or the American Philatelist, the magazine from the APS, has gone ahead and recently published a whole issue, really, a couple of articles about the researching process. One of which is from Peter Congreve, who is an active online philatelist. He has a Twitter account called @StampDen, and he does these fantastic Twitter threads. A Twitter thread is a series of tweets, either two or more, that are linked to each other and may outline a story or run through some facts, tell you about some research and so on. You could use Twitter threads for a number of things, and Peter successfully uses them to outline the interesting facts or story behind a piece of postal stationery, stamps, their significance in history, and so on. They're really great because they allow a philatelist to showcase a particular item, a stamp or piece of postal stationery, philately in general, and can be shared throughout the Twitter community and beyond. It's really great stuff. I'm going to put a link to @StampDen in the description so you can go and look at all of Peter's threads and his tweets. And if you are a member of the APS, check that article out because it's very interesting. I got some insight as to how somebody else gathers research when it comes to looking at a particular stamp or piece of postal stationery. I want to share a bit about my process with you because I get asked this question a lot, as I mentioned. I think there's an expectation from a lot of you out there that there's one place to go to just learn everything there is to know about a particular item. And that's not the case. I'm glad it's not the case because a lot of the fun when it comes to researching is finding different sources and piecing it all together to learn about something. There is a strong element of detective work that needs to go and take place when learning about a piece of postal stationery. One of the things I do is go online to Google and just get a general understanding. Maybe it's the area, time, place, something that can just maybe point me in the right direction. That also along with books, a number of recent videos I show the books that I read to learn more. I also watch documentaries and anything out there that can help me piece together a story. Really, like I said, there's no one place. You'll notice that in a number of videos I have newspaper clippings when I'm talking about particular events or even the issuing of a stamp. Peter lists a number of newspaper archive sites that he uses depending on, the country or location he's trying to learn about. I'm using newspaperarchive.com. I actually have a subscription to it. It's a really great site, although I don't recommend getting a subscription because it can be expensive unless you are doing a lot of research. So to answer the question of how do I research, there is no one answer, and I'm still learning about best ways or best practices to go ahead and research. I've also used the American Philatelic Research Library from time to time, although I probably don't use them enough. There are a lot of resources out there, things that I may not think of, that you might think of that helps you piece together a particular story. So my encouragement is to just go out there and start researching. Don't look for one source. If you're a member of the APS, definitely check out that article from Peter. One of the things that I want to emphasize that really hasn't been spoken about in the past too much is the distraction when it comes to philately research. More of the sidetracking rabbit holes, as they're commonly called, where you start learning about something and something else catches your eye, and then you start learning about that, and then something else catches your eye, and 2 hours later you've done none of the research that you intended to do, but you've learned about a boatload of other stuff. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this because in the world of philately, there is a lot of rabbit holes to climb down and learn more. One example, just to show you the intensity of where these rabbit holes can take you, is while researching the inverted Jenny, I came across an article in Newspaper Archives that reported on the first overnight airmail run. It was between New York and Chicago. Now, the reason why I was looking this up is because I was trying to learn a bit more about the history of airmail and compile that into just a couple minutes of a discussion on the video. Anyway, this article caught my eye because it had the name of the airstrip or the airfield, Hadley. Now, I found this interesting because Hadley is the name of the shopping center that I frequent for my groceries and a bunch of other stuff I get there. Actually, I get a lot of my stuff there, whether it's takeout, restaurants, and groceries and clothing and so on. I go to Hadley. It's literally 4 minutes down the road from me. Reading more into it, I realized that this is the exact same place where the first overnight airmail run took off and landed for New York City. 30 minutes outside New York City, it was selected because it was some distance from the city, it was clear of smog, and a more stable place to land a plane. And also there is apparently some kind of marker there that indicates that this was once an airfield. So I went there. I walked the entirety of the Hadley shopping center, which is no small shopping center, series of strip malls, a movie theater, and lots of parking. I didn't find any marker indicating that this was once an airfield, which made me doubt that maybe I had it wrong, maybe it's a different Hadley. So I came back and did some more research and found a website that is dedicated to hidden airfields and started to learn more about where this missing airfield is. Eventually came across a map of the old airfield with the runway. And that's when I realized that the Hadley shopping center was not the airfield. It was actually part of John Hadley's farm. It was the main part of John Hadley's farm, and hence the Hadley shopping center was named after it. John Hadley had actually leased a piece of land, only 77 acres, to the Postal Service, the Post Office Department, and they turned that into an airfield. So I went back out to the other side of John Hadley's farm where this airfield once was. And after overlaying the airport map on Google Maps, I figured that the Holiday Inn in South Plainfield, again, still 4 minutes drive from me, is the entranceway, or was the entranceway, to the airport. After arriving at the Holiday Inn, the first thing I saw was this marker, this little stone monument dedicated to this airfield. Something I've driven past a number of times and had no idea about. I was really excited to have this postal history discovery, and the pillar not only is dedicated to the Hadley Airport that was once there, but to the airmail event that took place, the first overnight airmail run. It even says on July 1st, 1925, at this site, US Postmaster General Henry New officially inaugurated the first night airmail long-distance service. This is a bit of a big deal when it comes to the history of mail, airmail, and air transportation. Thanks to this new overnight airmail route, I could mail something from New York City and it'll be taken via plane overnight to its destination in Chicago, perhaps even getting into the hands of the recipient that very next day, which is just crazy at that time. Now, in the history of air transportation, this is a big deal because this pushed the limits of flying. Making a long-distance overnight service means that they had to build the infrastructure for it to happen. And they started to put beacons, light up runways, pilots had to get good at flying at night using their instruments, build out airport networks and so on to make this all possible. Airmail pushed those limits. So it's a big part, like I said, of air transportation and of mail. And it's right down the road from me. Now, I didn't just stop there when it came to learning more about the overnight airmail. I went ahead and found two covers, one sent from Chicago and one sent from New York that very night. First flight covers. Both of these covers, of course, left the night of July 1st and landed the following morning, July 2nd. We can see the purple hand stamp marking the occasion. Identical hand stamps, just with the cities reversed. Chicago to New York to Chicago. The price to send the letters via airmail that night were 10 cents. It was actually 8 cents to send via airmail if the letter was being sent in the same zone, in which it was. 2 extra cents were needed if you were interested in using overnight airmail. So we can see that both covers carry 10 cents. This one with James Monroe and this one with a 7 and 3 cent George Washington stamp. The postmarks confirm this pioneering flight. Chicago, July 1st at 7 p.m., landing in New York City by 8 a.m., which adds up. After the plane landed here at Hadley Field, after its 9-hour flight, the mail still needed to be unloaded and sent into the city via train. 12 hours between Chicago and New York City post offices was pretty good. Actually, that's better than today's standards by quite a bit. Although I guess it's the equivalent of paying for overnight service today. The Chicago one has plenty of 1925 fingerprints, as the ink seemed to smudge, another neat detail and feature of this cover. There are a lot of things that I learn about that just never make it into the video, partly because it would be a very long video, and because also it's not related to what I'm actually researching. I'm easily distracted if I haven't mentioned that yet. But the other thing I think you should find interesting in this is that there's an element of local philately, which I hadn't really appreciated before this particular exercise of studying the Hadley shopping center down the road from me. Studying stuff that happened in your town or in your area is an interesting space that can unlock new discoveries about where you grew up and where you live. Things that you would never have paid attention to. People love studying postmarks of their state, country, city, but you can go so much further. You could learn about different airmail routes, postal routes, learn about hidden airfields, and so on. So maybe that's something that you can explore. I think it's kind of cool that this cover that was sent from New York took part in a historical first and took off down a runway that no longer exists but just down the road from me, and could very well be pictured in one of these photographs taken that night, of course being in a mailbag. Oh, and whatever happened to the Hadley Airfield? Well, apparently in the 1970s, the airfield was sold along with John Hadley's farm to developers who then went ahead and built that giant parking lot with all the strip malls. I spent a lot of time with the drone in the air trying to just map this all out and figure out where the hangars were as well as the runway. I kind of got close and started to visualize what it may have looked like, but one of the interesting things that I also learned while looking up John Hadley's farm and the old airfield is that apparently it was the site for these crazy Nike missiles. They were positioned there throughout the Cold War, I believe, to protect from any aircraft threat against New York City. So yeah, that's something else to explore on another day perhaps. Now let's get to the mail. Again, I have a lot of mail, so we're going to try keep it to 10 items again and see what else we can learn. So the first item is from Richard Philatelist. I mentioned that I was going to look at something that he sent me. He actually sent me some really great COVID-19 stamps from Isle of Man. And I don't have these ones yet, so thank you, Richard. These ones are quite heartwarming. They're titled Carry Us Through. And what I like about them is that they emphasize the human factor when it comes to surviving and getting through COVID. You can see some details written about the stamps when they were issued. You can see that this issue is presented on the underlying themes of strength, fortitude, and love during a global crisis. So you can see carers, for instance, delivering groceries, healthcare workers, scientists, and even just the act of writing a letter, reaching out to somebody, showing that you care. Thank you very much, Richard. He wrote to me saying that he actually started collecting stamps back in 2003. But like so many of us, he put the stamps away for a while, and only recently, last year, back in November, he was reintroduced to stamps when he went to the Royal Mail website to look up information to ship a package and accidentally navigated to their stamp section and fell in love with the stamps that they were selling. He wanted to learn more about it, and the rest is history. Now he is producing videos on YouTube. Very cool, Richard. The other thing he sent me is this tube map stamp. This stamp he's actually used in his first video, but I believe this stamp was issued in 2009, part of a series celebrating design icons, including I think the Concorde, as well as the phone booth, and a number of iconic designs in the UK. What I didn't realize is that the tube map is designed by Harry Beck, so maybe I am related to him. Well, it's an interesting map because it's one of the earliest infographics or examples of a modern infographic. It emphasizes simplicity and just gives the right amount of information for you to be able to navigate through the London Underground. It's also known as a topological map where only the critical details are preserved and kept and anything else is removed. So it doesn't preserve scale, and distance and direction are not necessarily accurate. If you were attending Stampex in person, you would actually be getting off at the Angel station, which is right there. So I'm wondering if I can use this map, if I just keep it in my wallet, next time I go and fly into Heathrow and find my way to Stampex. Next up, I got a couple postcards from James in Japan. Well, actually, this one he's sending from his home in Japan, and this one he's sending from school, which is in Hawaii. I wish I went to school in Hawaii. This Surfside Waikiki postcard is kind of cool because the machine got the postmark on the wrong side initially, and usually that just makes a bit of a mess of the cover or postcard or whatever it is. But in this case, it adds to it, I think. It's a dated poster in which the cancellation lines could easily be symbolizing the waves of Waikiki. On the Japanese postcard, James writes to me saying that he's enjoying the series #Philately and he hopes to have this card featured. Well, here it is, James. This card is a Shibuya Ibiza post office card, special to the area that I live in, Tokyo. And the word stamp in Japanese is kite. And it's written like that. Very cool. James also liked the stamp that he has used for the Japanese card. Not only is it socked on the nose with the postmark, but it features a very popular manga series called Doraemon. It's a long-running series about this cat that comes from the future that helps these kids out. It's very, very popular. Thank you very much, James. This is very cool. Now, this one is interesting. It's actually from Christmas time. I'm still getting Christmas letters as of 2 weeks ago. The mail has been very backed up over Christmas time, and this one was sent December 18th. I did get this on time. I just never was able to look at it on camera. But the reason why I'm showing this one is because it says this letter was carried by sled dogs. I've never had anything carried by sled dogs delivered to me. This is from Jody in Wisconsin, and she provided some additional details about how there's this professional dog sled team that is carrying your holiday cards. It's basically 20 Huskies, part of this professional dog sled team that were training for the 400-mile John Bear Grease Sled Dog Marathon, which took place in January. And to train, they were just carrying mail bags. So you could have sent your items to the dog sled team. They would have put it in a mail bag, gone or carried the mail on a 10 to 20 mile route. So this mail is not only carried by a dog sled team, but it helped train them for their marathon. I hope they did really well. But it's really great because you got the hand stamp on the back. This letter was carried by sled dogs. Trail mail. Brave Mountain Mushing. I love it. And like I said, I've been getting a lot of Christmas mail after Christmas. I even got this one item from Santa Claus. It's like a legit postcard from Santa, where there's no like real stamp. It's just an elf holding a letter that says Canada. It must be legit because how else did it get into my P.O. box? It's from the North Pole. And Santa, who wrote this, said, "Dear friend, I'll be jitterbugged. We returned home on Christmas morning to find 2 unopened bags of mail. Your letter was in one of them. Very sorry I didn't reply before Christmas." Well, I expect more from you, Santa. I mailed that early in the season, but you know, I'll take this. Thank you. Thank you for watching, Santa. I appreciate it. Next up is Hannah from Canada. Hannah writes to me with a lovely letter saying that she's 12 years old and loves Exploring Stamps YouTube channel and #Philately vlog. Because of your YouTube channel, I was recently inspired to start my own stamp collection. During lockdown starting in March, I was helping to go through some of my grandma's old things and found some really cool Canadian mini sheets. Now I have boxes and boxes and binders full of stamps. I love them all. Wow, thank you, Hannah. It's great to see that you're enjoying the channel, and it's really great to see that you've got your own collection started and already boxes and boxes and binders full of stamps. She also says that she's written a lot of letters to people to cheer them up during quarantine. She included a mini sheet of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, issued in 1998, celebrating, 1873 to 1998, 125 years celebration. Also on the cover are some interesting stamps she points out as well. There's the Year of the Horse stamp for the Chinese New Year. The music pair is to commemorate Canada Day in 1980, so I'm guessing that song is Oh Canada. Yes, it is. And the other stamp featuring a guide dog is the first Canadian stamp to feature Braille, and commemorates the 100th anniversary of the Montreal Association for the Blind. Looking it up, Braille reads number 52. In Braille, preceding a number is usually a pound or a number sign, a hashtag sign, so that you know the next characters or numbers. Very cool. I don't know if there are other Braille stamps out there, and I'm kind of surprised I haven't come across any myself. I feel like it's a very easy thing to include on a stamp. I'm sure there are others, so let me know in the comments, and I'll also take a look on my end, and I'll put a link in the description if I find any others. So thank you, Hannah. Who's next? This one is from India. I actually got a couple from India this time, so let's go through both of those. This one is from Prathamesh in Pune, India, and this is quite a neat cover he sent me. Some stunning stamps, of which 2 are blocks of 4, and on the back he indicates that this envelope is made from reused and upcycled paper. Reduce, reuse, recycle. That is very responsible of you. I have a letter saying, "Greetings from India. I've been following your YouTube channel since June, and I absolutely love it. I got inspired from your digital Philately and started my own Instagram page in September this year. Through my Insta page, I try to tell stories and interesting bits of trivia just like you do." Excellent. I'll put the link to your Instagram account in the video description. I have enclosed a few stamps from India. Hope you like them and add to your collection. Yeah, these are great. These are interesting stamps. Looks like they're celebrating Indian fashion and were issued in 2020. First thing that really grabs my attention is the fact that they're long vertical stamps, which allows a model to be featured on each stamp. That's really cool. Again, another great addition to my collection. Thank you very much. This next one is from Nirav in Mumbai, and a lot of great stamps again on the cover. A lot of aviation action, actually. This one's really cool, featuring India's Air Force. Actually, the one stamp that I've done from India on the Exploring Stamps channel was about the Indian Nat. So maybe he put it on there because of that. Nirav writes to me that he's writing the letter on his birthday in December. Happy belated birthday, Nirav. He writes that he still remembers the first video of mine which he came across, which was visiting a stamp show, and this video reignited his long-lost passion of collecting stamps. Social media has definitely helped me by leaps and bounds in being a philatelist. That is really cool to hear. At the same time, he got to know about post-crossing and realized that he actually loves to write postcards to everyone. And he's made some amazing friends through post-crossing. He's even got his own custom postcard, which is pretty neat, showing all his other passions. And I can say I share that passion of travel and food, specifically fast food. We definitely have that in common, Nirav. And lastly, he writes that India Post released the COVID-19 stamps, and he's including the FDC with the mini sheet in this letter. And here it is. This is a salute to COVID-19 warriors, an emphasis on the front line and the supporting workers. You can see medical workers, those working in transportation, the postal workers get a shout out. Great first day cover and postcard and letter and everything, so thank you, Nirav. Next up, a very well-dressed letter here. This one is from Justin, and he writes to me on the back of a Vario page. Actually, this is one of those pages that when it's shipped, the Vario pages, the stock sheets, they come with a page on the top. Anyway, he's recycling. Very cool. He writes, "Dear Graham, greetings from San Diego." He works as an ornithologist on San Clemente Island. He tracks the population of endangered San Clemente loggerhead shrike. And now he's taken the plunge into philately, and so he's written this on his first purchase of various stock sheets, which is pretty cool. Justin points out that on the front of the cover is a personal Shrike recovery stamp. I'm going to have to look up more about San Clemente Island and the Shrike. And he sent me $5 in the mail saying, "A coffee on me, thanks again, Justin." That's very nice of you, Justin. Thank you very much. Clearly he knows that this channel runs on coffee. I must have given a hint or two. A lot of people ask how they can support the channel. Well, your views and your subscription is actually the most important thing to me. But yes, the channel is expensive. And because awesome, generous people like Justin have sent me this $5 bill, I'm going to go ahead and start a Ko-Fi account. And I'll leave the link in the description of this video. I'll just do it temporarily for a few weeks to see if there's any traction on it. It's like a tip jar where you can go ahead and buy me a coffee. And you are in no way obligated to do this. I'm not asking you to do this. I'm just putting that out there if you would like to do this. There are actually 2 Philately online personalities there already, including John from Philatelist, as well as Ted the Talking Stamp Collector. So check them out and also support them if you like. Thank you, Justin. I will definitely put that to use in the form of caffeine. Here's an interesting one. This is from Chris in Astoria, New York. It's on a double reply stamped card. So what that means is he's provided me with a postcard which actually opens up, and there's another postcard ready to be torn off, both of which include a printed forever stamp. So this is an interesting way of getting a message to someone and then getting a reply without putting any burden on the receiver and then sender of the postcard, because they don't have to find any stationery to write on, they don't have to find a stamp, and they don't have to pay for anything. They just literally tear off the other card, write on it, and then drop it in the mail. These things are available right now on the USPS site. They go for 80 cents a card. That is a very neat way to send mail, and I haven't done it before, so I'm going to reply. He writes to me, "Glenn, as partly promised, sending you a double reply postcard. This is a postcard which provides a recipient a postcard with postage on it." Well, thank you, Chris. And like I said, I'm going to reply to you right now with this card, so you should get this a few days later in the mail. I've heard about these, but this is the first time I've actually seen one, so I'm excited to use it. Mike writes to me saying, "Just a quick letter to say how much he's enjoying the channel and hashtag Philately. I've included some postal items from Canada for you to enjoy. The first is a container to hold a coil of stamps. It was intended to hold a roll of Scott Canada number 2442, a yellow sunbright sunflower." Maybe I can put my US definitives in here. You think it'll fit? Hey, it just fits. So my coil of definitive US flag stamps are now neatly contained within this stamp dispenser decorated with sunflowers. Perfect. The second item is a shoulder patch that he believes was Canadian Army issued for mail carriers of the Canadian Forces. Also included is a Canadian stamp magazine, 2 postcards from Canada Post, a pre-printed 6-cent Queen Elizabeth envelope from the Centennial Definitive issues, and a couple of first definitive issues for Queen Elizabeth in Canada. Mike, you have spoiled me. Thank you. These items are great. I'm going to add them to my collection. Graham, thank you for making stamp collecting fun again and for introducing me to post-crossing. Everybody is loving post-crossing. I love the concept, addressing a card by hand, putting a stamp on the card by hand, and dropping into the mailbox by hand. But we need to take the process to the next level, writing the note with a fountain pen, just as you would have done when flying on the Hindenburg. Yes, I would have probably been using a fountain pen and or drinking black coffee. Okay. This is really neat. This is my first fountain pen. It also includes a number of ink cartridges or refills, and I need to test it on something. Ooh, I feel fancy writing with this. This is from Jim in Austin. Thank you, Jim. Expect a reply from me written in fountain pen. This is really cool. I'm also going to catch up on my post-crossing with this, so I've got some writing to do. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and leave a note in the comments section. Do you intend to visit Stampex virtually in March? How do you research your stamps? Have you ever researched something local in regards to philately? Do you use a fountain pen? And anything else we covered in this episode. Like I said, thank you for watching and happy exploring.